Hinasaki Miu, one of the cover characters from Fatal Frame 5, is a unique and fascinating character who was, at one point, going to be a culmination of the series in human form. That never really panned out, for reasons we'll discuss, but that doesn't make her any less interesting. In fact, she's by far one of the most interesting characters in the whole series. Let's take a look. Naturally, this will be full of spoilers for Fatal Frame 5. Miu is the tutorial character for Fatal Frame 5. We find her waking up in a room full of water, with this scene apparently being inspired by the movie Solaris, and she's quickly besieged by ghosts. She doesn't have a camera, meaning you have to run. She comes across Ulse, the main villain of the game, with a one-touch kill, and then ends up in another room full of water, this time with a box in the center. A spirit comes out of the box, attacks her, and fade to black. Naturally, she's not dead, and the game informs us that no one could hear her cries for help as she was sealed into a shrine on top of a mountain. She was there looking for her missing mother, Hinasaki Miku, the main character from the very first game in the series and supporting character of the third. It seems that, in the meantime, Miku had a child. But who is she? And why is she looking for her mother in a waterlogged shrine? At this point, Miu disappears for about half the game, until you finally free her from the box in Chapter 6. Miu and Yuri, the other character from the cover, return to the antique store that operates as their base, and while Miu lies asleep in bed, Yuri uses her power to glance into Miu's memories in an attempt to understand what's going on and why she was in that shrine in the first place. What she sees isn't pretty, and it's a look into a tortured, almost emotionally dead soul. A note from Miu in-game reveals, "My mother left when I was 3 years old. I barely remember her. She hugged me, and then she disappeared into the sunset. There was nothing I could do. I cried, staring at the sunset. Why did I just watch her go? Why did I let her go? I can't just wait for her. I have to go. There are things I want to tell her when I see her." This single act lies at the heart of Miu's story, and even who she becomes as a person. Miu never knew who her father was, but her mother left her when she was only 3 years old and never told her why. Iyamasachi, a family friend, then took Miu in and raised her, but Miu was never able to get over her mother abandoning her. She grows up emotionally cold and distant, and before long realizes that, like her mother, she possesses a sixth sense as well. But not only can she see the dead, she can see the living as well. Not in a traditional sense, of course, but she can literally see people's memories, feelings, and emotions. She realizes her foster family don't really love her, although they do feel bad for her and her situation, and with no one else to talk to about her special gifts, Miu turns inward and starts to despise people more and more. She can see their lies and how fake they all are, but at the same time, feels the same way about herself. She's also a fake, moving through life pretending to be someone she's really not. As she approaches the end of high school, she decides to put her talents to use, as such, and become an actress. Miu doesn't know who she really is, but she's fantastic at pretending to be other people, and her ability to see what other people desire of her allows her to move up through the entertainment world as well. She mostly does gravure photo shoots because she doesn't especially care that people, particularly men, are using her to get what they want, because, in the end, she's using them to get what she wants as well. When talking about the creation of Miu's character, director Shibata Makoto described her as someone who can read people's minds, someone who can see everything, even their darkest, most horrible secrets and emotions, but is unfazed by them. She's emotionally dead, and because she's so empty inside, this allows her to succeed and excel as an actress, taking over any role like a chameleon. The only thing that stirs any type of emotion in her is her lost mother and her desire to find her. When she's 17, Miu hears rumors that somebody who looks like her mother was seen near Mount Hikami. She heads there right away, and that leads us to the start of the game, and Miu getting trapped in the box. After Yuri saves her and takes a peek at her memories, Miu turns the tables and does the same to Yuri, seeing what it is that has traumatized her as well. "Don't look without permission," she says, before calling her Saite, which can be a little difficult to translate, but basically calls someone the lowest of the low, a pathetic excuse for a human being. She finally meets someone with the same power as her, and they immediately butt heads. But only briefly. Yuri ends up being spirited away that same night herself, and Miu sets out to return the favor and save her. Seeing Yuri walking across the Lake of the Departed stirs up memories of her mother leaving, and Miu panics. She grabs Yuri and begs her not to leave her as well. This is enough to break the spell over Yuri, and they return, having become somewhat closer. Miu then borrows Yuri's camera to find her mother, and she does, finding Miku trapped in a box in the House of Joining. It's revealed that Miku left because Miu was conceived with Mafuyu, Miku's dead brother. The mere act of giving birth to a shadowborn, which is what they call a child born of a living person and a ghost, greatly reduced Miku's own lifespan. Only 3 years later, Miku realized that her own end was nearing, and so she left Miu to head to Mount Hikami, where Miku had heard rumors of yukon, or ghost marriage. I have a whole video on that if you want to know more, so I'll leave a link in the comments. Miku decides to participate in ghost marriage with her brother, in the hopes that it will ease his spirit's suffering. And in the 14 odd years she was lying in that box, she physically stopped aging. The Miku that Miu greets looks exactly the same as when she abandoned Miu as a 3-year-old, making them physically almost the same age. Miu is never explicitly told who her father is in the game, although we're given enough to assume that she knows. There are files lying around the antique store that talk of Shadowborn, and Miu can literally see people's memories, after all, and that includes her mother's. In the end, although saved from the box, Miku is summoned to the Lake of the Departed as the big finale goes down, and Miu follows her there, trying to stop her mother from leaving her one last time. The mother and daughter finally have a heart-to-heart, and there are 2 endings, depending on whether you choose to photograph Miku on the way to the lake or not. In the bad ending, Miku fades away, and Miu realizes that her mother was never actually there to begin with, and that she had ceased to exist inside that box. In the good ending, Miku tells her daughter that she's not going anywhere this time, and Miu wakes up in the antique store to find her mother is still lying in bed next to her. For now, anyway. And if you're wondering how Miu could have a camera obscura during this whole section when Yuri already has that same camera out on the mountain, that's kind of the point. From the very moment Miu apparently wakes up and finds Miku gone, she's already dreaming. That entire final sequence takes place in her dreams, although the effects of it are very real. Miku is going to die, and soon, regardless of which ending you get. But in the good ending, Miu gets at least a little longer with her first. Fatal Frame has always been a series about people dealing with tragedies and their inner traumas. Miu has massive abandonment issues due to her mother leaving when she was only 3, and the powers she gained from her parents only hindered her growing up without their guidance. As an interesting side note, and to circle right back around to the beginning, Miu was originally conceived as the daughter of Miku and Amakura Kei, the male protagonist from the 3rd game. This would have made Miu the daughter of the 2 great families from the series. A descendant on her mother's side of the Hinasakis from the 1st game, and their ancestors, the Kurosawas, from the 2nd game. And on her father's side, a descendant of the Amakuras from the 2nd and 3rd games who themselves were descendants of Dr. Aso, the character whose cameras and deeds drive the entire series as a whole. In the end, Shibata felt that Kei being Miu's father didn't work narratively, however, and the idea was abandoned and Mafuyu brought in instead. Naturally, many people aren't a big fan of that decision, but the point remains. Producer Kikuchi Keisuke also pointed out that the game's third character was actually going to be Miku herself in the early stages of development, but Shibata felt her story ended in 3, and so he created Miu instead. When Kikuchi saw the character sheet said Hinasaki Miu, he wondered how they could mistake the name of the series' main character for over a decade before seeing the small print that declared her as Miku's daughter. When he then asked Shibata who the father was, Shibata replied, "That's a secret." Not even the main team was let in on the secret at the start. And that's the story of Hinasaki Miu, one of the 3 main characters from Fatal Frame 5, and certainly one of the characters with the most divisive history. But what do you guys think about this one? Are there any other lore videos you'd like to see? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you again next time.